Mark Rogers, TV Talking College Football, and we're wrapping up the bowl season with defense and the top 10 defensive performances of the bowl season. Defense wins championships. It wins bowl games. Wake Forest weren't supposed to win. The Demon Deacons were a 12-point underdog against Temple, but the defense kicked in. And after giving up an early touchdown in the first play of the game offensively for Temple, 49 yards up top, the Demon Deacons clamped down. 13 tackles for loss. They gave up negative 20 yards rushing. And I know it's a bad stat. The sacks should not be included. So they actually gave up about 35 yards rushing to Jihad Thomas and company, but negative 20 on the stat sheet. Thomas Brown, defensive end, 7 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss and a sack. Wake Forest surprises Temple 34-26. Boston College at number 9. Not the entire defense because of giving up 30 points. They gave up a couple long pass plays and a couple long runs to Ty Johnson. So they gave up 30, but the defensive front for Boston College, and I said it in my instant analysis, one of the more dominant defensive line performances I've seen against a like opponent. Unbelievable. Harold Landry, Truman Gillipfel, and company, 14 tackles for loss, 8 sacks. The defense defended 10 passes. Most of those were bats at the line of scrimmage, like 8 or 9 of them, batted balls at the line of scrimmage. They forced a fumble for a touchdown. They just basically were in the lap of the quarterback and the running back in the backfield, in the end zone, forced the fumble and scored. They tipped a pass that was picked off, and they intercepted a pass. Harold Landry, Boston College defensive line, number 9. Number 8, we go to the Florida defense. Iowa's not got a great offense, but they score more than 3 points typically. 40 against Nebraska. Iowa came in running the ball, efficient passing game, and Florida holds them to a field goal. The Gators, 224 yards given up. Holds C.J. Beathard, good quarterback, 7 of 23 for 55 yards and 3 picks because the Florida secondary was ball hawking. Chauncey Gardner had a pick 6 plus another interception, which he almost brought all the way back for a touchdown. And Florida was all over C.J. Beathard, battered him time after time after time. Florida at number 8. Number 7, Miami, holding West Virginia to 229 total yards. The Mountaineers average 507. They've got the 12th ranked offense in the country, or they did before they took on the Canes. Skyler Howard had a 33 QBR in this game. He threw for 134 yards. West Virginia on offense, 2.4 yards per carry. The Miami defense had 9 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. And again, 229 yards against West Virginia. Big win for the Canes. At number 6, the standard's so high, you almost don't know where to place Alabama. Was this the best defensive performance, or was it just run-of-the-mill for Alabama? Before they hit Deshaun Watson, they faced Jake Browning, Myles Gaskin, in Washington, and they gave up 7 points. Second drive of the game, Washington looked good. They scored the touchdown. That was it. Forget it. 194 yards of total offense for Washington. 5 sacks for the Tide, 2 interceptions. Of course, the pick 6 by Ryan Anderson. They really closed the door at the end of the first half. John Ross is one of the more dynamic talents in college football, one of the fastest guys in college football. Caught 5 passes against Alabama for 28 yards. Dante Pettis, 3 catches for 28 yards. Forget it. Alabama rules Washington, and they are number 6 on our list. All right, at number 5, Oklahoma State gave up 8 points to Colorado, gave up no points when it mattered. It was a blowout when they gave up the 8 points. It didn't matter. 318 total yards. Ashton Lampkin with a pick, 3 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, and really the impressive thing was giving up nothing. The Oklahoma State defense comes in at number 5. Lamar Jackson, Heisman Trophy winner, 51 touchdowns, runs into LSU at the Citrus Bowl. LSU comes into our rankings at number 4 after holding Lamar to 10 for 27 passing for $153. The most dynamic quarterback in the land, not the best, most dynamic, runs 26 times for 33 yards. And a lot of that was sack yardage included, of course, but that's almost the point as well. They sacked Lamar Jackson, did the Tigers, 8 times. They had 10 tackles for loss. They had 6 passes defended. They gave up just 3 field goals, no touchdowns to Louisville. 220 total yards as Hardin Key and Tashawn Bauer had big games for LSU in winning 29-9. At number 3, we go with the Florida State defense. Yeah, they gave up 32 points to Michigan, but there was a 2-point conversion run back. There was a pick 6 by the Wolverines. Florida State's defense set the tone to get the early domination going and set the trend for the offense to kick in and win this game over Michigan 33-32. The Florida State defense had 15 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, gave up just 261 yards to Michigan. All right, at number 2, we go to the Holiday Bowl. Luke Falk and Washington State, high-powered offense, nothing. Minnesota looking great after giving up a 76-yard drive and then holding Washington State out of the end zone on the first drive of the game. Forget it. Luke Falk threw for just 264 yards, and he throws it a lot. He hit on just 16 of his last 34 passes. He had a 24 QBR. Minnesota sacked him 3 times. He had 5 tackles for loss, 6 passes defensed, a key fourth-quarter interception that they turned into points for the offense. And they gave up a meaningless touchdown with under 10 seconds to play to make it 17-12, but really 17-6 against Washington State. And the Cougars, you don't think about their rushing game, but it was 3rd in the Pac-12, and Minnesota held them to 23 carries for 39 yards. Minnesota's defense, number 2 in our defensive rankings for bowl play. And at number 1, when you hold one of the elite programs to nothing in the semifinal game of college football's playoff, then you rank right up there. And Clemson gets our number 1 ranking. 31-0 shutout of The Ohio State University. The Tigers shut out the Buckeyes. This was Ohio State's first shutout since 1993 on offense. 215 total yards, 3 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions. Clemson's defense basically didn't let the Buckeyes in the red zone. The couple times that they did, they were immediately ousted on a turnover or a sack or a tackle for loss. Clemson shuts out Ohio State. Easily the best defensive performance of the bowl season. That's my top 10 on defense. Need to hear from you now. We'd love to hear the comments right here on Mark Rogers TV.